A notable good guy, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, wants to create new rules in college football just so you have to abide by them and he can break them as much as he wants. That's how you say bad. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Big 12. I am Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thanks for making this show your first listen every single day and bringing a new voice, a little freshness. Oh, a little new air to the show. Fisher Hargrove, Big 12 insider, college football insider, and content creator, joins to give his thoughts on the overarching themes of the SEC eating all of us alive. That is called cannibalism. We will start there. How the SEC wants to create new rules. Greg Sankey now has become the good guy, ? And then we will get into the Big 12 burying itself. Brett Yormark's been clear. We want to be the basketball conference, but the basketball conference doesn't make as much money as the football conferences. The Big 12 putting itself behind the 8 ball. And then we will finish with Texas A&M, Missouri. Two teams that have not done that well in the SEC. Well, they had that one. Yeah, they had that 1 year. But they left, and for money, but that money has made their viewing experience exponentially worse. They are Big 12 teams at heart. If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. Fisher Dick Weiss posts, says SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey wants college sports to return to the one-time transfer rule. Sankey's calling for national eligibility standards on rosters. This would be the same Sankey that allowed Bediako to play at Alabama after being a professional basketball player and is allowing the same thing at Vanderbilt. It's a little weird. Worst guy you know, literal guy who dropped the bomb on Hiroshima, says, hey, man, we shouldn't drop nuclear bombs while the Greg Sankey's doing this.
I mean, can we expect anything less from the SEC? I can't remember a time that them or any of their teams have abided by the standards that they set on the rest of the college football world. They just have a tendency to get in front of the 8 ball and then back away and go, whoa, where did this come from? And blame everyone else for it. Not at all shocked by that.
This is another example, certainly, of the SEC asserting its dominance, saying, hey, we can control the rules and make the rules. And even Sankey expressed the issue with older players, 26, 28-year-olds that are in college football. Hey, that's your league that you're letting that happen in. Fisher, you follow college football across the state of Texas. This is happening a lot in the state of Texas with UT and A&M out of the SEC. Does it feel like the commissioner of that conference has let the league just kind of run free and do whatever it wants?
Yeah, it really does. It feels more like they have become each individual little private entities each team has, where they don't really work together. There's no congruency. They argue over their own championship. You heard Lane Kiffin say he would not play in the SEC championship if Ole Miss got the chance. And it's just like, if that's the culture of your conference, it's toxic. I don't think there's any going forward from that. You have to go way backwards to even fix that. If you have your top coach, at least in terms of notoriety, saying, I won't play in the conference championship. He didn't make it there, because he's Lane Kiffin and it's Ole Miss. But still, I just think if you're at that point, your conference is all over the place.
I think another piece too, then you've mentioned this in a lot of your social media content you put together and about the college football playoff, how the SEC wanted to dictate the college football playoff. And now that's become a broken mess full of, I guess if you're the SEC, you're winning because it's just your teams. You've made it your invitational. So that hasn't skewed from what they wanted to create. Are you of the belief that the college football playoff needs fixing?
I thought it needed a little fixing after 4. I didn't think we needed to jump to 12. I think the main problem with the playoffs is that we don't have any standards. It would be like if in the NFL they got away with all these set rules where we know exactly who's in and when they're in, and just said, let's make it kind of arbitrary. Let's pick the teams that might not have the best records or have the best records against good teams, and let's just put the ones that everyone knows. Let's make sure the Patriots are in the playoffs every single year. That would, people would grab their torches immediately. So I think it's weird that the SEC is allowed to have this standard of, no, we are, what's their slogan? I'm blanking on it right now, but
just means more.
Means more. And it's like, there just means more. and they get kicked out first round. Almost every single team this year got absolutely annihilated. And then they're just allowed to hold themselves. And then you heard them arguing that the group of five shouldn't be in, like with JMU getting slaughtered by Oregon. But what about when Tennessee hosted Ohio State last year and got slaughtered by like 30 at home? I don't get that standard either.
Yeah, it's completely flipped the way that the SEC wants to build narratives, even around leagues that aren't their own, teams that aren't their own. They want you to feel certain about everybody else, but think that they are the kings. How much of the SEC villain factor has been exacerbated by the fact that they haven't won a national championship in now going on 4 years?
It's weird to think of it as villain. It more makes me just happy. every time there's a great meme that says another hypothetical win for the SEC. I see it posted on every post I see now, and it just brings me joy. But it definitely adds to their. They feel almost like an entire conference feels like the Dallas Cowboys. Just assuming that everyone has to respect them. I thought there, assuming that they have to be respected because of their history. But they're really starting to feel not like the Blue Bloods anymore. The Big Ten has really kind of knocked them off recently, and they just don't seem like the old SEC. I think a lot of that is NIL, and I think a lot of that is just what they're doing now, pissing a lot of people off, rubbing a lot of coaches possibly the wrong way.
When we come back, as much as the SEC is making mistakes at the top level by positioning itself as the villain that will ultimately crash and fall, the Big 12 has positioned itself as meek and mild with a basketball approach to college athletics that ultimately could be the downfall of the conference. Maybe. Let's hit on it. This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Clea Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. Number 1 ranked UConn dominated St. John's 85-49 on Sunday at Madison Square Garden, extending its winning streak to 47 games. The Huskies capped a perfect 31-0 regular season, including 20-0 in the Big East. UConn is winning by nearly 38 points per game, the third largest average margin in Division I history. Since 1999 to 2000, UConn has 9 undefeated regular seasons, as many as all other programs combined, and has turned 6 of those into national championships. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Big 12. If you're an everyday listener of the show, you can find the show ad-free at Supercast. No. LockedOnBig12.supercast.com. LockedOnBig12.supercast.com for the everyday listener for ad-free listening of Locked On Big 12. Big 12 insider, college football insider, and content creator Fisher Hargrove joins Locked On Big 12. Would you rather be a human being stuck in a hot air balloon 920 feet in the air on a cell phone tower in Longview, Texas, or a Power 4 conference commissioner who sells their soul to basketball? Because I don't know which position I'd rather be in, Fish, considering the Big 12 has sold out for basketball and sold out for TNT, which, by the way, might actually fold. TNT announced yesterday they might not be a thing anymore. This conference selling itself to hoops, I just don't think is going to be a long-term play that behooves the league. But
have you, Drake, considered cool courts that have screens on them?
Yes. Or playing games in Mexico or just playing games in Times Square. There are ideas we're passing around.
I mean, have you considered that? Playing on a TV? That's something that people tune in for.
Innovation that excites, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Look, basketball, football moves the needle. It pays the bills. Basketball is fun, but the Big East predicated itself on basketball, and that conference is by and large flopped. They had to lose basically all their football schools. The Big 12 wants to make money, but basketball, albeit undervalued, is still just not even close to football money.
It really isn't. And I really think it's partially because just they're different games. The NBA is really hurting right now. If I remember from the last year, and like I just think that makes people not as interested in college basketball as well. They just are not interested in basketball right now. NFL is doing incredibly well. College football obviously is doing incredibly well, and so I really think the Big 12 backed the wrong horse on this one. I think. Furthermore, the Big 12 have not made great decisions with some of their acquisitions of teams over the past few years. I wasn't really excited about UCF or Cincy. I felt like they don't really mesh in our conference. They don't really have, of course, UCF won the national championship in 2017. How can we forget? But I don't know if they have the history really needed to be in a Power Four conference. I didn't really like that acquisition, but yeah, you make a great point. I don't know why we're pushing so hard for basketball right now. It isn't seem to be going in the right way.
So I guess on the inverse of that, if pushing basketball is because basketball is so good, and obviously it is, the Big 12 is the best conference in college basketball, does it just point to the fact that, or is it a fact that football's not good enough to be a bell cow of the Big 12 this league can hang its full hat on?
Possibly. I think we lost a big brands over the past few years. I mean, OU and Texas especially, it's arguably one of the biggest brands there is. I mean, the the horns is one of the most notable, like recognizable logos there is. And I think that moving away from trying to push up another brand, like I think I talked about this in one of my videos. I think Tech saw that and we're like, okay, we need to be the face of the Big 12 now. We need to do that. And I think not having they're a Big 12 team. Now, notably, like everyone used to think UT was the Big 12 team. Not having that anymore, it definitely hurts the conference.
Where do you rate the Big 12? I mean, you cover a college football across the board. You've done a lot about how to fix the postseason, how to fix the portal, how to fix NIL. Where do you rate the Big 12 as it pertains to talent? Basketball, the number one. I won't allow you to respond. Football, where do you put the Big 12? Can the Big 12 stay alive long term when it faces some of the other big dogs?
I think yes. I think that there's a lot of doomsday preaching when it comes to the Big 12. I think we're definitely third. I think that right now it goes Big 10, it goes SEC. And I think if you look at how poor the ACC ended up panning out over the past year, and they don't really look like they're in a great spot either. I think we, at least overall, we have the most parity. We are now the fun conference. I talked about that in my videos, that we are what the Pac-12 was 5 years ago, where every game is kind of a nail biter, even though it doesn't need to be. You know, BYU can go all the way to triple OT with Kansas, and it's not that shocking. I think we are the fun conference, and I think that's what we need to start really selling, is that, hey, we're the conference where there's anything can happen. We used to talk like the 12 team, 9 games, one true champion. We need to bring that back, that like we are the conference where anyone can win it. It's not like the Big 10 where it's going to be Ohio State or now Indiana every other year. It's not going to be Bama, Georgia every other year. Who knows who's going to win the Big 12? I seriously, last year, could have seen anyone pulling it out except for Oklahoma State. But it really could be anyone. And I think that's what we need to start pushing, is that we have this parity. And that I think we do have the talent for it. We have a lot of big brands still in it with good NIL.
So Parity, does Parity sell? I like watching it. You like watching it. Does America like watching when Kansas and BYU go to triple overtime, or are they by and large going to pass on that? And the Big 12 cannot. Big 12 would make a mistake in trying to build its conference based on parity.
That's one of those where it's going to be looking back. I think that's a hindsight question, because I think it could survive. I think true college football fans, not casual ones, really like that. I think that's what college football is all about. Is it's chaotic, it's dumb. The number one team in the conference can go and lose in a giant upset on the road to the unranked team, and that's going to happen. And that's what college football has always offered as like an alternative to the NFL. You know, the better team on paper isn't always going to win. So part of me does think that is totally a possibility and move forward, but sometimes a lot of college football truthers are like, no, that just means the conference is bad.
Yeah. Another piece of this before we jump into the A&M and Missouri conversation, and this just came out from Ross Dellinger, by the way, is that the Utah president is going to be in the room this Friday when the president of the United States meets with college football leaders to discuss how to move forward, how to make sure that we can make college football a little more appeasable. Interesting, that I mean, do you think, and this, I don't want to dip too far into politics, do you think this is a time, given the state of affairs for our literal country, that we can still, from a legislative level, fix the sport? Or should our focus, it's our focus a little too tied up elsewhere?
I don't know if Nick Saban really should be commander in chief of what's happening in the Middle East, but do I think that him and some really legendary coaches should maybe get involved in a more administrative sense of the sport? Yes, absolutely. I think there definitely needs to be legislation on NIL. It's kind of insane that I've said this for a while, that it's just like one-way contracts. Like, hey, we're going to pay you to come play for us, but there's no obligation for you to stay. There needs to be some kind of laws around that. You just saw it happen in Mississippi. They are giving no taxes on NIL, which is just kind of crazy that they've gotten to that point. So obviously there needs to be some kind of regulation and some kind of, hey, it's because it's a jungle right now. There needs to be something done. I don't care what it is. It's just something that says, it's moving in a direction.
Yeah, I draw the line at the $7 million quarterback at Mississippi State paying no income tax. That's where where I draw the line. While I sit over here and scrape up pennies on my end. Fish, let's get into Missouri, Texas A&M, and how those two schools have ultimately flopped by leaving the Big 12. This is Locked On Big 12. Hey, today's show is brought to you by TurboTax. Look, it's tax season. That might scare you. Like, oh, no, not taxes, please, no. But TurboTax is different, dog. It makes it easy. It's tax time. But for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment, that's not the most convenient. Sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth, wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can be face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. Just like that, you're done. TurboTax expert works great to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to TurboTax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. TurboTax.com/local. Today's show is also brought to you by Gametime. It's where I go to get tickets. Dog, and I love tickets. I love going to concerts. I love going to college basketball games. I love going to comedy shows. And Gametime is the place for all of them. And the Gametime guarantee means 100% legitimate tickets delivered on time at the best price. Here's the best part. Fees are included in the price you see. What you see is what you pay, period. The seat view is a game changer. You view the seat before you buy. No stress, no guesswork. Take the guesswork out of buying college basketball tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKED on for $20 off. Download the Gametime app. Do it today with Gametime. Big 12 insider, college football content creator Fisher Hargrove joins Locked On Big 12. Fisher, I've been of the mind, if you're an A&M fan, if you're a Missouri fan, you probably think, oh, I love it. We went to the SEC. Yeah, you live in Coppell, Texas. You're a big, your mom went to A&M. You had to go to Berlin, but your mom went to A&M. You live in Joplin, Missouri, and your uncle went to Mizzou. You heard the war. Well, he got kicked out of sophomore year, but he went there for a little bit. So you're a fan. And you thought, we're so glad we're the SEC. Now, of course, we're below 500 in SEC play since we joined the conference, and we can't seem to succeed on the national level or win the SEC championship. But the school's making a lot more money. And Fish, my pushback is Dan in Coppell has never seen $1 of that money that his school got. And instead, all he's seen is more and more losing. It just means more losing. You leave the Big 12 where you're best suited to be, and you try to go to the big pond where the fish are way bigger. Those schools cannot compete for championships there. They can win every now and then. They cannot compete. Leaving the Big 12 was a mistake because it killed the viewership of the actual fan.
I mean, hey, at least they have a shiny new stadium that they have to pay $800 to sit front row at, and this really has been my problem with A&M as a whole. It's not the fact that they're a cult. It's not because they are. It's not the fact that they don't have cheerleaders, and it's not the fact that they act like it's their year every year. It's the fact that all of that is tradition, and they pride themselves on tradition. Their fight song is about the rivalry with UT. Their saying "Gig 'em" is about the rivalry with TCU. And I went on a tour there, and all they do is hammer tradition into you, and they left it all for money. In 2011, they said, "No, we're good. We're going to take money, even though we claim we are tradition based. That's all we care about. We're going to get a new stadium, and we're going to join the SEC. And then we're going to go under 500 the entire time we're there." Hey, but at least they got an Heisman winner out of it.
That is the whole. Kevin Sumlin, because that worked out really well, right?
Yeah.
And Jimbo Fisher, because that worked out really well. And they're now still paying head coaches that they had to fire, and they're paying them because they fired them. That's kind of been the MO for these Big 12 schools, or really any school that joined the SEC. Arkansas in 94, 95, in that, hey, let's go join the SEC. And it's been terrible for them for 30 years, blowing up the Southwest Conference. I know the toothpaste is out of the tube, man, but wouldn't it be awesome if we could just wave the magic wand tomorrow? And I think ultimately they may not know it's for the better for themselves, but A&M and Missouri fans should agree that we could wave that magic wand and go back to the way things were. It would behoove them a ton because, the school's getting more money in the SEC, but that brand new hot tub at the training facility, you don't get to use that. The fans don't get to use that. They're just seeing more losses.
Agreed. And I think if you were to ask a fan, would they rather have a new stadium, or would they rather than going 7-6 every year or 8-4 every year, and the SEC go 10-2, 11-1 every single year in the Big 12? I think they'd rather that. I think they would rather have more accolades than a brand new building on campus. I think the average A&M fan and average Mizzou fan would much rather that. And it makes me wonder if A&M knew that the playoffs were right around the corner when they agreed to join the SEC. If they knew, hey, our path to the championship is going to get a lot harder now that we have to go through Bama, Georgia, and LSU every single year just to get in a chance to sniff at the national championship. I wonder that. I wonder if they knew it was coming.
Can I make I can't, it's my show. I'm going to make a fairly bold statement here that I think is just true. If A&M and Missouri walk back to the Big 12 tomorrow, it doesn't automatically mean they contend. The way we've seen that pan out, I just don't think that those two schools are going to be contenders even in the Big 12.
No, not especially today. I mean, if you look at how the bowl season went, especially, I really don't think that like I said earlier, I don't think the SEC is as dominant as they think they are. And then beyond that, I think if A&M and Mizzou hop back in, especially Mizzou, hop back in right now, I don't think they're top of the conference like they think they are. I think they learn really quickly. We got to adjust. We got to do something. I mean, A&M year after year has had at least top 5 recruiting classes for the past, 5 years or something, especially in the transfer portal. And what do they have to show for it? I mean, going 7-5, ooh, you beat Bama a few times. That's their biggest accolade, is that, hey, we beat Bama when they were number 1. Okay. Did you win a national championship with all of that Houston oil money? Have you done any of that? I don't think it makes sense for them to have done that. And looking back, I don't think it makes sense for them to leave the Big 12. I get they were pissed about Longhorn Network, but I think, again, hindsight, it makes more sense to stay in the Big 12 and really bolster that conference. Sure, we just lost Nebraska, but that was forever ago, and we had just lost Mizzou, but that's not that bad of a hit. I think if they stay, they try to pull someone like Arkansas into the Big 12. I think if UT and OU stay, the Big 12 right now has Washington and Oregon. And I fully think if they just stayed within the conference, the Big 12 is, I mean, if you look at the Big 12 picture in 2011, that is a power conference today. That is a for sure every year contending conference. So yeah, I just don't really know why A&M felt the need to hop out and make their lives harder.
I regret doing this, but put yourself in the mind of an A&M fan. Sorry. Or a Missouri fan. You're in their headspace. Would you rather win or you have your school bring home money?
Well, right. It hurts, actually, what's going on. You just had me jump into a Missouri and an A&M fan's brain. So I'm kind of in pain, but I would rather win. I'd rather much rather would, sure, maybe I get my ass beat by UT every year, but I don't care. That's my one loss of the season. I am cool with doing that every year. If it means I have a few Big 12 championships under my belt, if I have a few conference championships under my belt, I am so happy with that. I don't need a Kyle Field. I am cool with playing in Floyd Casey. If it means that I bring some freaking accolades.
Fish, before we wrap up this thing, you are Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner. Let's flip it to the Big 12 for a second. What is your number one point of emphasis on XYZ to change? Like, if you're going to succeed against the mighty SEC and the big bad A&Ms and Missouris of the world, what do you flip to help build back the Big 12 pieces that need to make them a prominent conference?
A lot of that is going to be retroactive. I think we don't try to get Cincinnati or UCF or Houston. I love the Cougs, but part of me doesn't think I go for them. Part of me thinks I go for a lower level SEC team, like I said, like Arkansas. I think I go for something that has a larger brand actually presence. But right now, what I'm going to do is really try to push the brands that are working. And that would be Tech, that would be BYU, that would be Arizona State, that would be Arizona. I think Baylor and TCU could get it. Both have. I would really push the ESPN and Fox to be like, hey, look at how fun these rivalries are. Look at how fun the Baylor TCU, I'm not calling it the Blue Bonnet battle, but look at how fun the rivalry is. Look at how fun Tech versus Arizona State is and has been for the past 2 years. And I really use some kind of magical powers to get them to think of us as a fun conference to watch, what the Pac-12 was. Maybe we're not going to be in the trenches, but we're lighting up the scoreboard.
Look, man, if you're a fan of one of the small schools the Big 12 added, tough to hear, but he's the expert. Fisher Hargrove, where can folks find more? Where can folks find more of your budding work?
They can find me on TikTok at FishyTakes19, all lowercase. I don't deal with caps. And that's the main place you'll be able to find me. I try to post as often as I can. Only Big 12 football. I love it. It's the best conference there is.
Amen. This is me using my phone as a microphone now because everything fell apart mid-show. This has been and always will be Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.